Hey.
How's Annie? How's Annie? How's Annie? How's Annie? How's Annie? How's Annie?
Welcome to the Rewatchers in the Lodge, where we have just finished Twin Peaks, and we couldn't be more ecstatic. What a best finale of all time. Just answered every question we had. We might not watch the movie in the next season. I feel like everyone's pretty satisfied here. And everyone here is me, Tyler Harris, with
Marcus Marinos,
Riley Harris,
Y'all Nickamrellite.
that was pretty good.
Hey, yeah, it's Tyler McKinley here.
Mitchell Marshall.
Justin Hammer.
And we watched the final two episodes of the original run of Twin Peaks, which the first of which aired June 10th, 1991, written by Tim Hunter and directed by Barry Pullman, and the finale, which aired the same night, June 10th, 1991, written by Harley Peyton, Robert Ingalls, and Mark Frost, and directed by David Lynch. And don't worry if you haven't seen it. Mitchell is back from his long sojourn. A better man, and he is going to break down every single happening from these last two episodes.
Pray for me. Leo lockpicks Briggs' way to freedom, but not himself. Wyndham Earl goes vampire. Audrey pines for Billy Zane. She also has a little secret about the Packards' dirty deals. Coop info dumps about Bob being at Josie's death. The Black Lodge being the evil in the forest that feasts on fear. It's Dementors. Wyndham listens. He has a villainous rant, and we also see Leo has been booby-trapped. Twin Peaks choreographer pervs his way through pageant rehearsal. Lana puts the moves on Dick, double entendre. Coop and Annie consummate their relationship. Nadine brags about being WWE champion. Ed and Nadine both announce their engagements. Hawk finds Briggs. Coop gives an astrology lesson. Andrew shoots open a metal box with a key inside. Donna goes Madonna and asks Mari to reveal her daddy. Briggs says, protect the queen. Fear and love opens doors. Andy accidentally finds the bug that Wyndham Earl planted. Long pageant intro dance. For talent, Lucy dances and actually isn't half bad. Log Lady teleports and KOs pervy Bobby with her log. Lana belly dances badly, enticing all the men into a stupor like Avila. Audrey hugs a tree speech, and Donna confronts Ben and Darth Vader's herself. Lucy says Andy will raise her baby no matter the biological daddy. Annie wins the pageant. Blackout, strobe light explosion. Nadine knocked out. Smoke. Log Lady has a detonator. Coop hit by a blast. Then Log Lady chloroforms Annie. Holy mackerel. Andy reveals he knew the cave symbols were a map, not a puzzle. Maybe you should listen to the dummy once in a while. Next, final episode. Here we go. Lucy laments the light flickering. Log Lady stole Pete's truck. Wait, no, it's Wyndham Earl all along. Mitchell, you're an idiot. Glastonbury Grove. Ronette is here once again. Why did we forget about her? And she recognizes Log Lady's husband's gateway oil smell. Earl takes Annie into the forest to the circle of trees behind the red curtain. Mike professes his love to Nadine, who has a head injury and is back to her old self. Donna is having a parental crisis. Her dad punches Ben Horn and maybe kills him. Coop and Harry head to the woods, but Cooper must go alone. He finds the red curtain. Harry spies and sees him disappear. The little red guy dances, lights flicker over a singer. Andy meets up with Truman. They wait until morning. Audrey cuffs herself to the bank vault in protest to the Ghostwood Project. Pete and Mr. Martell show up to get into the safety deposit box with the key. Oh, but there's a bomb, and the bank's windows blow, and it seems like they're all dead. What the hell? We're definitely going to get a resolution to this before the end of the episode. Bobby proposes. Sarah Palmer is Bob, maybe, tells Briggs that he is in the Black Lodge. Now, here we go, guys. Little Red Man calls the area the waiting room, and Laura shows up. She says she'll see Coop in 25 years. Now the old messenger guy brings Coop coffee. Then the giant shows up, says one and the same, and then vanishes. Coffee goes from solid to liquid. Little Red Man says, fire walk with me. Coop wanders through identical waiting rooms between curtains. Maddie emerges, warning Coop of her cousin. Evil Laura and Little Red Man scare Coop and myself. Cooper sees he is wounded and reacting to the blood, and tracting blood throughout the rooms. He sees himself and Annie lying dead. Wait, is it Caroline or Annie? In another room, he finds Annie, who talks about all the crazies like all the crazies in the red curtain place. She says she knows who killed her. Oh, now she's Caroline. Now it's zombie Laura. Then Wyndham. Annie appears, then disappears. Wyndham Earl stabs Cooper, saying he'll trade his soul for Annie's life. But now Bob is strangling Wyndham and takes his soul. Evil Cooper bursts in to laugh with him. Cooper finds Ben Horn doppelganger, who says he didn't kill anybody. Cooper escapes with Annie's corpse? Cooper wakes at the Great Northern in need of a teeth brushing. Annie is alive. Relief. Oh, but Bob has possessed Cooper, and busted his head in the mirror. He rants about Annie, and it ends. What the hell?
Man, as you go through that Black Lodge stuff, it felt like you were narrating the final seconds of a championship game.
I was ready to go full play-by-play mode there.
It was amazing.
So wait, they were in the Black Lodge. That is the Black Lodge.
Let's talk about it later. Let's talk about it in a minute.
Because we say we're the Watchers in the Lodge, and I was like, oh, this whole time we don't know what the hell the Lodge is. I don't even know.
Well, there's two.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah, there's 2 lodges.
Well,
who
it's
knows
segregated.
if we've been there yet. Anyways, let's God damn you. The 90s were a different
separate
time.
but equal.
They shouldn't have been. Okay, so let's get through some of this other stuff before we start to ask all the questions that we have
I
about
assume this is really just going to be
spot.
you trying to explain Reddit shit to me.
It probably won't be.
The upvotes
tell
are
you
on
that.
the left.
Okay, so let's talk about. Let's just start with Leo. We'll kind of knock him out.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's say
So, okay.
that's
All right,
some
now
bullshit.
we're moving on.
I will say this episode doubles down on the idea that they are playing towards some kind of redemption arc for Leo, and boo, not good,
Yeah.
dumb, do not like.
There's literally nothing there to make me believe that all of a sudden he would be caring about Shelly because he got electrocuted a bunch. Like,
Yeah, I mean maybe I don't know, but
It could
yeah,
just be
it's
like, I met a greater evil, and now I'm at least going to try and do something to stop him.
yeah,
But I don't really care.
I don't either. I
I did hit the point though where I was like, man, you know, if I had to choose between Leo or Josie dying, I would kill Josie every time.
I'm kind of there, yeah.
agree with you. I'm on board. Okay, so let's talk about. Should we start with the pageant then, and kind of get that stuff?
Yeah.
We're at the Twin Peaksy. This is a pretty Twin Peaksy premise. I feel like just a quirky, dumb, small town thing. What are you guys' thoughts on the Miss Twin Peaks pageant, which we've been building up to for? I feel
Far
like a
too long.
long time. It's been on flyers in episodes for months.
And
at
every
this point.
person we've met, every female under the age of 30 is, well, and Nadine.
Watching Donna in that opening dance was like the most character-breaking moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, is Audrey in the dance? I honestly didn't.
I
know.
don't
I don't
remember
think
seeing
she.
her.
I don't
is.
think so.
She just, which I think is maybe that actress being like, I'm not doing this shit, because she was, yeah, she had principles. She would only go so far.
She went pretty low in the season already, so.
Yeah, she put up with a lot of shit. I feel like. But is there anything kind of notable from there that you guys want to talk about?
Dick got a free hand job and didn't follow through on his end of that bargain.
Hey, there was no contract.
Yeah, it was pretty unclear.
Spoken or maybe unspoken, but I don't know. He was just trying to help someone out in a closet.
As we all do.
I didn't know Lucy was going to be in the pageant. Had she talked about it?
I think she
Yeah.
had.
I don't remember that. But I saw it and I was like, oh, nice.
Yeah. The big thing that she mentions too is that she announces D-Day in the prior episodes, which is Daddy Day, where
Right.
she will choose the father of her child, which coincides with the Miss Twin Peaks pageant. But yeah, she does a dance number.
Way better than fucking Lana's, right?
Yes,
That was bullshit.
that was some
Lucy's
bullshit.
pregnant too. Like
Yeah,
She's pregnant. She's doing
job.
crazy splits.
I believe Lana's dance was always described as contortionist erotica, and there was zero.
Exotica.
Jazz
No, get it
exotica.
right.
Sorry,
This is a classy pageant for classy ladies.
I didn't see any classy contorting.
I saw some shitty belly dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's supposed to be like.
I've never really seen great belly dancing. I would say
Let me
I'll
pull up
send
a
you a
YouTube
playlist.
video.
Could you point me in the right direction?
So yeah, that stuff, and it also involves people who have more important shit going on. Let's talk about Donna's stuff real quick. Maybe the most. Are we agreed that it's probably the most soap opera plot line?
So out of left
Did
field.
they try to
And
introduce?
why does it matter? Just to give her something to bitch about because James is back. By the way, I know you guys all hate James. He should have come back in some way for the finale.
No.
I wish we'd just seen him on his motorcycle and then just a semi coming the opposite direction, just immediate cut.
No, like I wish we had a scene of just James riding his motorcycle with
Closing
his
his
eyes
eyes, yes.
Maybe
And him doing that past a sign that says, "Don't close your eyes on this road."
There's a really good missed opportunity for a backdoor pilot of him in Mexico.
Oh.
Yeah,
my
that's
God.
true.
That's what they were planning on, a
true.
spin-off.
Yeah, he was in San Francisco last we heard from him, right? So down old Mexico way.
Yeah. Didn't think I could hate Donna more, but somehow.
Yeah, that
got-
stuff. I'll be honest. Every scene over the last few episodes, it's just been the same thing with her. It's there's no real progress.
And honestly, I feel like, and maybe I'm reading into this, it feels like it comes through with her performance too. Like she also is kind of like, this is not great,
Yeah,
and I'm phoning it in.
yeah.
I feel like for the younger people, when Laura died, their storylines died because Laura clearly is part of this bigger plot to do not just with the sex and drugs, but also with this like extraterrestrial world, and they had no interest in that.
Yeah.
They didn't need to follow it there, so there was just nothing. They didn't know what to do with them, and I don't know if
Do you mean after after that case was solved? Or
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
once Leland's stuff is over, and we kind of have a gist of what went on with Laura. They just didn't. No one knew what to do with the kids.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make that argument for every major group. Every major grouping in Twin Peaks is.
But there is a clear big picture that we were pursuing. It just seems like there was no tight way to have this whole cast do whatever they're going to do. Because I'm okay with some of the fun slide plots, but there was no way to organize it to bring us down to a solid ending. Not that they ever wanted to give us a solid ending.
So let's talk about one of those side plots real quick too. Let's just talk Nadine. Nadine continues to do her thing.
I mean, that's the real cliffhanger that I'm devastated about.
Yeah.
Is that moment, for some reason, that they're all there together again. But yeah, she's back to normal.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know who Mike is. She still thinks I mean, they technically still are married, aren't they? Their divorce wasn't
Yeah. Oh yeah.
finalized.
I don't think they've done anything along those lines.
So Big Ed's just in a predicament.
I really hope he just says, "Look, sorry,
well,
you're gonna kill yourself."
So I will say they leave some major cliffhangers on those. Like the Nadine thing, that is really a terrible moment to be in and for it to just end on. The scene with Doc Hayward and Ben Horn, which is secretly one of my favorite moments, is just Doc Hayward screaming at the ceiling after he's punched Ben Horn.
We still don't really know what happened. I mean, we know, sounds like Ben Horn is definitely her dad.
Yeah.
And they had a thing, and it's like, okay, how close in age is she to Audrey? Was it just like an affair? And
Yeah.
Or they
Doc
switched
swooped
them
in. And,
Yeah.
for some reason. Oh my gosh, you know what I'm tired of hearing? I just wanted to do good. I'm a good guy.
We get
The
it, man.
Bible, Old and New Testaments, Bhagavad Gita, Tao Te Ching. The
Harry
answers
Potter.
to good are in these books.
hey, I'll take anything over his being delirious war general for fucking 8 episodes.
There were so many cliffhangers in this episode.
Yeah.
I started to make a list. I'm probably nowhere near,
Top 10 Twin Peaks finale.
Cliffhangers.
but there are so many. Like you mentioned Nadine, you mentioned the situation with Ben and Dr. Hayward. We have the bomb going off with the safety deposit box. Like there are so many. There's too much. There's so much, and I'm.
Well, and I think the argument there is this was a Hail Mary at the chance of getting renewed for another
Right.
season. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of those cliffhangers are ploys.
Yeah.
Like I think plain and simple. Like I don't know that there's a lot of other meat there other than it being a tool to possibly get more episodes, you know.
I'm shocked though one guy was just driving along in the car having a nice time. We thought their resolution was going to be good, and then they got blindsided. Because that is like the best network cliffhanger that's been overdone.
Can we just give a shout out to the growth of Mike as a character? Look at how far he's come.
Yeah,
He's like one of the most adults in the room at the end with him and Nadine. He apologizes. Like, man, I can't remember what he says. Like, I really like went too far. Or
I let
something.
things get too far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
He
wearing a
apologizes to
tie.
Ed,
Like,
which-
yeah.
There was a point in the show where that boy was barking through
Exactly.
prison bars.
He did kind of tell Bobby he was just in it for the superhuman sex.
That's
though.
true.
Yeah.
And also,
Yeah, good point.
But then when he saw that sandbag just knock her in the dome,
That's when he knew he could marry her.
that's when he came full circle.
What happened to Mike again? Why was he wearing a bandage?
I
a
honestly,
tree or
yeah,
something?
a tree fell on him. I think he says. I don't know how or where or when that happened.
Okay, wait a minute. So Bobby gets hit in the head by Wyndham Earl, right?
Yes,
Pretty hard by like a huge fucking log.
Yeah.
That's got to do some damage.
Yeah.
But don't we see him later just chilling with Shelly?
Yep, absolutely.
No bandages.
What
Yeah.
the fuck?
Let's. I actually do want to talk about this because
I'm just barely noticing that.
I might have some insights on that.
Oh boy.
Is there anything else from that first episode that we need to talk to that isn't Black Lodge related? Or that isn't
for
Glastonbury
Leo,
Grove
okay.
related? I'll say.
The Saw sort of style booby trap that Wyndham Earl set up for Leo.
With just spiders.
Is that just a box of
Spiders.
spiders?
Like, just
Which I'm pretty
exactly
sure
right,
might be
so-
non-venomous spiders. Like,
They look.
yeah.
They're
Or
very hairy.
tarantulas.
That's the way you can tell,
yeah,
right?
because like
Some
tarantulas,
mountain tarantulas. Of some
tarantulas
kind.
like aren't super dangerous to humans, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Was
Way
the
to
Probably
go.
box
not anything
open
that's
on the bottom?
in Washington.
I
I'm
honestly,
confused
not
how that
sure-
trap works.
the
I
idea
don't
is
know.
that like if he lets it go, it falls on his
Yeah.
head, and then they eat his face alive.
in my mind. That trap also looked like it could survive a fall from that height.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that high up.
And he could just dodge it, right?
Also, if the
And
bottom
couldn't
is
you just
open,
move your
Couldn't
body.
you just kind of let the? I mean, it might hurt. It might take some time, but can you just let the twine kind of slide through your teeth?
I mean, if he was Audrey, he could like you know
Like,
do the
lower
whole
it
cherry
into the
stem
he
thing,
ties a knot.
and then just like slowly
I would just
reels
eat.
it in.
I would eat the twine. Yeah, just start swallowing it.
And then you can eat the spiders for sustenance until someone finds you.
He's been really good at spaghetti
This guy's
lately.
an
He
idiot.
just-
That poor
His
actor.
mouth got super strong while the rest of him was paralyzed.
I hope Twin Peaks: The Return just opens with him still just holding that twine in his mouth. That's the opening
But now
shot.
there's just a million spiders in that box who created a civilization and built a statue of him.
But like real time has passed, so he's like wrinkly Leo.
Oh god. Yeah, that's the best case scenario.
Wyndham kidnaps Annie after winning
Yeah. Yeah, so that
as the log lady, disguised as the log lady.
right. Did you really not know?
I'm so fucking serious.
Like
Oh my
all the way
gosh.
through
Were
to
you-
the end.
until the next episode.
Were you watching? What?
Are you
What?
serious?
Wait, so that wasn't a joke. Were you
No,
watching
no.
on your iPhone like 20 feet away?
I was watching on my like
Watching
big
on
screen
your
TV mounted
fucking
on my
phone.
wall.
We're gonna come to the podcast one time with prosthetics on, and you're not gonna know who the fuck we are.
You guys remember how I didn't know that Catherine was Hachimura?
That's true.
Wyndham Earl got
This
me,
is
man.
this is just your blind spot. This
it was
is
just
the- this is
happening
the
so
thing.
fast.
Mitchell, if you need
They, like,
glasses,
zoom
like,
up
that's
on his
fine. That's like a
face,
normal
though.
thing.
I used to have perfect vision, and guys, I know what's going away.
It's 2019. It is now acceptable to have glasses.
Oh no! Everyone in school is going to call me Four Eyes. I graduated
Trust
from
me,
college like
Mitchell,
5 years
you
ago.
have so many more things to be insecure about than your vision.
You sound just like my mom.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so the Packards find the Packards solve the puzzle with a gun.
How
Where did that puzzle come from?
how they have solved
Thomas
thi-
Eckert.
how they have solved
So
this whole
that's-
puzzle
yeah.
is like I want to see like Thomas Eckerd's reaction to how they've solved each of the steps. He's
How did I not think that?
The whole Ecker and them and Josie's storyline of like people spinning light, which was kind of connected to Horn, but then wasn't, and it was all just about people covering up fake murders for each other's money. Like, what a shit storyline.
Bad. It is
like
bad.
it's bad soap opera fodder, but then to execute it that badly,
Yeah.
I'm
it's pretty bad.
embarrassed.
Also, why not just put a bomb in the box? Seems a lot easier.
I mean, Catherine really wanted to hold on to that thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, Pete was in the bank, wasn't he?
Pete was in the bank.
Yeah.
No.
Man,
I mean, I'm sad about Audrey, but I'm more sad about Pete.
Man, and how do those glasses make it all the way outside?
What a
Into a tree.
What a
Out
beautiful
the
shot
door.
and great. I just want to see the storyboard for that sequence in particular, just because that's such a dumbass good thing that they did.
I mean, I know that like this is Twin Peaks, and they're gonna make some. If they kept going, they would have had some of those characters somehow. They would have all come back as like Chinese businessmen in disguise or something. But like that blast was so far in the building, it came all the way out the door. They're dead. They're so dead. And also, I do want to point out that I think David Lynch has some sort of annoyance or vendetta, much like myself, against slow-moving old people in desperate
Say that
situations.
exact same thing.
Because this is like the third time that's shown up with this time a different old man.
Yeah.
Just taking his sweet time.
Yeah. Yeah, what a delightful. I'm mad that we haven't seen more of Mr. Mibbler, which I believe is his last name, in the rest of this show. Because just even the cuts to his reactions where he's just like,
His walk.
he's like somehow even more old man than the character that is playing the quintessential old man, Dwayne Milford. Like he's
Yeah.
somehow even more. But yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about the meat of this. Let's get into the stuff. There are a couple things. So I do want to note real quick just some production stuff about the finale. Basically, Mark Frost took the script of David Lynch, and he's like, here's your roadmap. Do whatever you want. Because I know that you're going to make something cool, so just do something weird. And some of the major changes that David Lynch did make to this script, there were a couple lines. A notable line that he added, which was Audrey when she's like, call the sheriff's department, ask for Agent Cooper. That was a line that he added. I don't know if that's of any great importance, but I do think it's just Lynch bringing back things that he loved about the show, which was their relationship. The Doc Hayward scream is a David Lynch original. Originally in the script, Doc Hayward goes and starts to actually tend to the wounds of Ben Horn, but in a way better choice. Now he goes and kneels next to his unconscious body and screams at the heavens. Also, the entire diner scene was added by David Lynch. So that was not in the script. And I don't know if any of you noticed this, but the Bobby and Shelley scene after they talk about marriage is nearly identical to their scene in the pilot. Down to that German waitress coming in, her laughing and giggling and going away.
Oh, shit.
It's almost word for word exactly what happens in the pilot episode. I don't know what else to say about that other than that doesn't seem like a mistake.
Yeah.
But also that scene, I think that scene is also an example of David Lynch bringing back things that he loves about Twin Peaks, because that's the only scene we see Sarah Palmer in. And David Lynch loves the Palmers. That's, to him, that is a quintessential part of Twin Peaks, and all of them are in this episode. So, I don't know. Just some notable things, notable changes that he made to those scripts. So let's go ahead and talk about Coop and the hunt for the Black Lodge. Let's start by talking about Andy really quick. I actually really like the stuff they do with Andy, with him like staring at the map constantly, and they just keep coming in there and like, is he still staring at it? They're like, yeah, like it's such a weird thing, but I feel like it is one of the rare moments where we're not subjected to Andy being really goofy. It's like this really earnest and maybe even like spiritual thing that Andy is doing, where he is putting together the pieces of this puzzle or something, which he does. Like, he is eventually the one that tells Cooper the information that leads them to Glastonbury Grove and all that. But I think that's an interesting it's cool and interesting to see that for his character. I think this late in the show, and for that to be something kind of unique. What about you? Kind of leading up to that, was there anything that stood out to you guys, kind of pre them going into the waiting room, that kind of stuff? Like,
so many questions, but I'm wondering like if Harry could have gone in there, like, or if there's something that you kind of specifically need to be able to go in.
Yeah.
So I was confused about the like scorched engine oil, a little bit. What that was needed for. So in the middle of like the sycamore trees, there's almost that like little pool. Does that have to deal with it?
So
I don't know.
I think the big thing is the scorched engine oil. That smell seems to follow
Bob.
actions of Bob's actions, whatever that is. And so I think the connection there is that the log lady brings that in, citing some connection to her husband, that he had mentioned something like that. So I think mainly it just points to connections between places.
That's not like an oil well or fissure or anything.
I mean, I can't say for sure. I honestly am not entirely sure.
Because that's what I read. I was sure about that until just you guys questioned it. Like, so.
Yeah, well, and it very well could be. That's just one of the specifics.
And that's why I
I'm
assumed
not-
Bob
honestly
smelled
haven't
like
looked
his,
into
because
it.
that's his exit and
He's always
entrance.
hanging around.
Yeah, and they said that it is used to kind of open that portal.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how Bob's getting like in and out, is using that, and that's why it's all
Yeah.
over the place.
Well, and one of the other things I wonder, you know, and you asking about Truman, I don't think Truman can. And I'll say the thing that makes me think that is the thing that's dropped in this episode is what Briggs says when he says fear and love opens the door. We see Wyndham Earl uses fear to open that door. He uses literally Annie to open that door. And I think the implication is that Cooper
Loves
uses
Annie.
love. Yeah, that's his entrance to the
Because
lodge.
when they said that, I initially thought fear would get you into the Black Lodge and love would get you into the White Lodge.
True, yeah.
That was my initial
But
thought as
I
well.
also
mean,
am
could
just
you-
wondering, like, how did these lodges get there? What is Bob's connection? Are those extraterrestrial things that are now inhabiting and terrorizing and utilizing owls? And it's
Yeah.
so much like why this forest in Twin Peaks. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and they also introduce Arthurian myth.
Yeah.
At this point, enters the mythology of Twin Peaks. They go to Glastonbury Grove, 12 sycamore trees in a circle, around a place named after the legendary burial place of King Arthur.
What's the
that's
stuff they
cool.
talk about with Saturn and Jupiter?
So they talked about them being conjunct. So
Conjunct.
there's like
So-
an astrological time for those doors to open.
I don't
or
know
whatever that
if
means.
this is actually that, but tonight is actually the last night where you can see Saturn, Jupiter, and the Moon in a line in the night sky for this year.
No way.
Well, that's fucking scary. Maybe? I don't know. I also don't know how to
It was
read that.
It was this weekend that they were going to be lined up in the sky, and tonight's the last night. that they're
Interesting.
lined
Wow.
up.
That's kind of crazy.
good timing.
So yeah. Also, there's some astrological.
So this may have
Things at play
happened
here.
before. This explains a lot about Lancelot, guys. Twin Peaks is really just a sequel to King Arthur. I prefer the Guy Ritchie version, but whatever floats your
And
boat.
that's weird.
Shouts
I'm
to Clive
just
Owen, my guy.
God, I don't know where to go from there. I wish I could forget it.
What else do we hear about the Black Lodge? We hear that like it is a manifestation of your fear, like it feasts on your fears. Because clearly some of that happens, like it's straight up like what happens when you see a Bogart. Like Cooper is seeing some of his worst fears. He's seeing
Right.
Caroline and Annie, and but
I thought it was just like the possibilities of all evil or something like that. Like it was the birthplace of evil, the source of evil.
I don't know. I mean, they definitely use the term like feasting on your fears, but
Yeah.
also he sees this little red man who, like, what do we know about that guy?
Yeah, he's always there.
He's
He's
just
in
the
the
host.
waiting room. Yeah. So they do call this place the waiting room in this episode. He says this is the waiting room. I will say there's also a thing that Hawk says several episodes ago when they first talk about when Hawk kind of talks about the Black Lodge and the White Lodge. He talks about the dweller on the threshold. and basically when you go to this place to enter the White Lodge, you have to face oh shit, what does he say? The dweller on the threshold with perfect courage. And I can't remember if it's in that episode specifically, but the dweller on the threshold is essentially your shadow self. It's a culmination of your greatest evils, which is what Cooper faces.
Yeah.
And I think we're led to believe fails to get past, right? So yeah, that's some heavy shit.
That's saying every single room he goes into could have a different psychological interpretation, and then do that to the 10th power of like ways you can look into that psychologically for Coop or, the lodge that we're in. And
yeah,
it's confusing.
A weird thing I don't know if is intentional or not is in a few episodes back, David Lynch's character does mention when talking about Shelley. He's like, it's like that chick with the no arms, right? And then we see the Venus de Milo statue with no arms in the lodge. I don't know. I mean, that doesn't seem like there's any importance to that other than that's on David Lynch's mind.
Honestly, I think there probably is some importance to that because I think one of the questions that we have to ask too in the waiting room is how much of this is an existing space and how much of this is informed by whoever's there at the time. You know what I mean?
Also, he changed the statue. It's her head is more straight in the actual statue.
Oh, really?
And her head is turned to the side in the direction he keeps going into. So
interesting.
I don't know if that's also just
again. I think we've talked about it before, but David Lynch started out his career as a visual artist in sculpting and painting, and I feel like if there's production stuff like that, I don't know that you can rule it out as just a fluke. You know what I mean? I think it's there's some pretty intentional stuff there. But yeah, that is interesting. I didn't notice that. It's been a long time since I've actually looked at the Venus de Milo, I think. But
check on it at least once a week.
Just to make sure it hasn't been stolen by Carmen Sandiego. Does she steal?
Where in the world?
I don't know.
Does Carmen Sandiego steal or steal the statue specifically?
Yeah, does she steal that statue at some point?
I don't know. I have not watched the entire filmography or whatever the hell format that comes in.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's already out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff in here. We didn't talk about. Let's talk about Sarah Palmer's re-entrance.
Did we ever say who is speaking through her? Did it ever?
So I don't know how reliable this is. If you turn on the captions, it says Sarah Palmer, and she says, "I'm in the Black Lodge with Dale Cooper," and then it cuts to the hallway, and that voice continues, and it says, "I'll be waiting for you." But that time the caption says dwarf. So
we might be
I don't know if it's
kind of a
that
good
man
guy.
using her as a megaphone to communicate with the outside.
In all the theories you've read, are there any theories that because she tells this to Briggs, but then that doesn't go anywhere? Are there any theories that Briggs went in there during that time at that point? Or anything along those lines.
I will say there's a lot of room for Briggs in theories going forward.
Okay, so stuff that we can't talk about yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will say that Briggs, the stuff Briggs at this point for sure is probably the person who's been to the most places, like has them, and has returned from those places.
That is super interesting.
So yeah, we'll definitely be talking a lot more about.
I mean, I thought briefly, like I don't know if the lodges have anything to do with space and time, because that point that he can't remember where he was, that could have been, that moment of him going in, and then he pops back out of the past.
Well, and Coop was in there, like we saw Sheriff Truman waiting outside for a day.
Yeah,
like it
said at the point that we see him, he was out there for 10 hours, and then it's night when they reappear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I imagine time is different within the Black Lodge or the waiting room, whether that be the waiting room to get into either the Black Lodge and the White Lodge.
Yeah,
perhaps.
Yeah.
I really like what you said about the fact that that area is populated by the person who is in it, instead of it being like this is how it is for everybody. Because when General Briggs disappeared, he came back and he was wearing like different clothes, like he went back in time. So I'm really excited to see kind of how they explore that. If man, that's so many questions.
Yeah, there's for sure. This finale absolutely. I am not sure I can think of a single question it answers, and then just gives you 20 more to hang on to for 25 years.
Also, we have in the Black Lodge, we have Sarah Palmer, and she says, "I'll see you again in 25 years." And
Laura Palmer,
Laura Palmer.
Right.
I apologize.
Yeah. No, you're.
But then we have Twin Peaks: The Return that comes back around 25 years later.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's
so
nuts.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and it's weird to because I feel like this kind of plays into the slippery time in the lodge as well. Is when Cooper first goes into the lodge, he is older. He's a much when we see him in the dream, in that first dream, he's a much older version of himself.
Yeah.
It's all planned.
So is Laura Palmer referring to that specific thing at
Right.
this point? That I'll see you in 25 years, which would insinuate that the information he got about her killer he received 25 years later than when, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Man,
that's where it
crazy.
starts to get really odd. Well, that's not where it starts. It's, I mean, but yeah, it's crazy. And the Wyndham Earl stuff, we definitely see Wyndham Earl. We kind of talked about this. He had this plan to weaponize the lodge. He just wanted that tasty soul, I guess, from Cooper, and that was a big misstep on
Bit
his
off a bit
part.
more than he could chew.
Yeah.
Which is kind of satisfying to see.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
for multiple reasons. Both because he's the bad guy and also that I just hated what he brought to the show.
Yeah. I do love that visual of fire shooting out of the top of his head when Bob takes his soul. I love seeing Bob again. Like, that's, to me, man, he's just such a... I feel uneasy literally every time I see him, and it's so just unpredictable.
The fact that there's no music in a lot of those scenes in the Black Lodge makes it 10 times more uneasy for me.
And we didn't talk about the musical intro there. Just fantastic.
That's
beautiful.
right.
I love it so much.
That set the tone so good. Like, I mean, I'll hands down say better than any other musical cue in this show, I feel like. And sounds much different than anything else in this show. Thank goodness.
And it's got vocals, like it's which is rare for. A lot of this stuff.
We've got some our best track ever from this show.
Number 1 on the charts in some village in Mexico.
You mean Tibet?
Well, I was just assuming that James is the only one listening to it.
Oh, James.
Son of a.
How does he get Annie out? Do we I don't feel like he's not even with Annie before he emerges, and then.
Well, who knows? Yeah, I mean that's a good question.
Also,
the Annie stuff leaves me with a lot of questions too, because every time we see Annie, I feel like we're also seeing Caroline, and she talks as though she is Caroline.
We get the callbacks to Caroline. Clearly, that her winning the pageant really helped bring things full circle for Wyndham Earl to really break Coop again. But it's interesting because I don't feel like that character was always planned. Like, the way she's just jumps in for the last, 6 or 7 episodes?
Yeah.
It's really interesting to me if that could have been Audrey or if there's another case for that to be different.
Yeah.
But
well, and I just on the production side of that. Sorry, go ahead. Doug.
No. I want to hear what you got to say. I just got so much to say. You go.
Oh, okay. So on the production side, I did watch a little documentary today where Mark Frost basically says, like, we kind of had stuff plotted out to reveal Laura Palmer's killer at the end of these episodes. And the network was like, no, like you need to do it way earlier. So forced them basically to scrap 14 episodes worth of material that they had culminated to build up to that. And then, the back half of that season, no one knew what to do. And it sucks. And so you do get these characters that I feel like then are like, well, we're missing a piece to get to where we need to be at the end of the show at this point.
Yeah.
And it's real messy and really weird. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. There's just a lot to unpack here. So when she comes out of the lodge, she's lying on the ground. She's bleeding from her forehead, which then when Cooper wakes up and then he smashes his head in the mirror, he's then bleeding from his forehead. Which isn't there one other character we've
Ben
all...
Horn.
Yes,
Ben,
right?
Yeah.
Leland.
Yeah.
hits
And
his head,
Leland,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, which seems... I mean, 3 of those are connected with Bob's presence, so I'm wondering if there's something with her also being possessed.
Yeah.
Like, if he can possess multiple people at a time, if there's someone else possessing her, another parasite, if that's ever going to be resolved in any way in Season 3. I have no idea, but... there's just what a weird cliffhanger for Coop to have.
What do you think? Like, I mean, Scooper's got to die. Like, I feel like Bob wouldn't let it end any other way.
Yeah. There's a lot there. Like, obviously, we kind of talked about this was a last ditch effort to get another season. But I think a lot of the other stuff was that I think this was a lot of David Lynch being like, I've got this bit of story to tell. And it's weird because right after, like, not long after this, the movie Fire Walk with Me is announced. And we've kind of talked about it. It takes place largely before Twin Peaks, which infuriated people. And man, that movie was not well received when it first came out.
Did they think they were getting more resolution?
Yeah, I think a lot of people saw, like, I'm going to go see a movie that tells me if Audrey Horne is alive or dead. And what is going on with Cooper, that kind of stuff. And those answers aren't super present there.
Who funded Fire Walk with Me?
David Bowie.
Do you know what
Like, who let
He's
him
in
make
it.
another movie?
Is he really?
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
David Bowie is in Fire Walk with Me. We'll very, very briefly. It's your next week's gonna be cool. But yeah, so they had planned to do 3 movies.
Oh, wow.
3 Twin Peaks movies. They just did the one, and it was horribly received, and so that was kind of off the table. But I will say, Fire Walk with Me, in the light of The Return, the 3rd season of Twin Peaks, I think has gotten a lot more acclaim. And also, it as itself, I think people that have come to it now outside of having to wait years for it and expecting something completely different, many people will say that it's David Lynch's best movie. And it is something that could stand alone, I think. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to the end of the episode, because there's stuff I want to say. But anything else with the Black Lodge stuff? The doppelganger stuff is really bizarre. Leland Palmer showing up and saying, I did not kill anyone.
But it was his shadow self saying that.
Yeah.
And then you have Laura Palmer, but then you have Laura Palmer's shadow self.
Right.
Crazy stuff.
And they all talk in that horrible, slow, monotone stutter.
You mean backwards?
The backwards speak?
speech?
Yeah, but I mean, especially like because you see it with the word, it's just like it makes sense and it just sounds so disgusting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And some people are better at it than other people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, yeah. The
man from the other place,
yeah.
super good at it.
Have we talked about that?
Yeah.
Where he like just kind of knows how to do that.
Yeah.
He's like, we need you to do this. Oh, I've been doing this for years.
Yeah, which is incredible. Yeah, and obviously, certain people are better at. There are some people that like when they play it back. I'm like, glad these subtitles are here because I didn't hear some of those words. What you just said.
I almost like fix them in my mind, but the way they say them just bugs the hell out of me.
Yeah, yeah.
Note Master, you got anything? You got anything we missed in the lodge?
I think we covered everything, but I have like a theory
Okay.
that I've been cooking up.
Prediction. I guess that's back.
Theory? Prediction?
Sure.
At the same
I don't
time?
know. Yeah, it can be the same thing.
Sure.
Okay, so with like the doppelgangers, there's like multiples of everyone, and so that leads me to believe that there's multiple Bobs. And what if all the Bobs, there's like a ton of them, and they're the Black Lodge side, and then the Mikes are on the White Lodge side, and the Mikes and Bobs are like paired up, and that's why the Bobs are only afraid of Mike, because they'd only be afraid of something that's that good because they're so evil.
Okay.
And the Mikes are there to try to like reel him in,
And they just
but
love
obviously
so
the
much.
Bobs are like kicking ass right now.
So and we're
But
getting into
I don't know.
cosmic good and evil here.
Yeah.
I like it. It's like
I don't know.
I mean, that happens in Lost, right? You get to the very end, and they're like, "Oh, there have been these two guys on the island from the beginning," and
Right.
Spoiler alert.
yeah,
Yeah.
If you
Those
haven't
two
watched
guys,
it-
they've been on the island the whole time, motherfuckers.
but it happens in a few other things. It honestly reminds me randomly of what's that Will Smith Charlize Theron superhero movie?
Hancock.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
but like, there's these weird good and evil cosmic forces that like they both come from the same place and they're almost siblings, and yet they work in opposite. So we actually get the implication that Mike and Bob are somewhat working together or have some sort of understanding. Because I didn't think of Mike as super good, but I like that idea of like these go to like the core of the beginnings, and they did this back in King Arthur times. Now it's happening again.
The lady,
happens
the
in
lady
Hitchcock,
of the
okay?
lake was Bob.
I like to think that the Lady of the Lake was the log lady. Anytime there's been the lady of
Holy
something.
shit, King
The log
Arthur's
lady.
in the log.
God damn it.
Our Lady Mary with the log.
Anyway, you're all wrong. The doppelgangers are the
Shit, we're back to
clones.
Yeah, this is all setting up for Twin Peaks Clone Wars.
Well, that's exactly where I was going. So glad we're on the same page.
Hope they do a cartoon prequel.
Two of them.
Yeah.
I have a theory.
Okay, yeah, let's hear it.
So in the Black Lodge, we saw the old man and the giant, and the giant appeared right after the old man. He said something like, he's like one and the same, right? So, and those two have kind of been paired throughout the series a little bit. Like they always show up together.
Yeah.
I think that they're either like doppelgangers, maybe, or that one of them, most likely the giant, is kind of one of those spirit walker sort of dudes like Bob or Mike, and then his shell of a person is the old man.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
That was very terribly explained.
Yeah, he's basically what Bob was to Leland,
Exactly.
possibly, but
Yeah.
obviously a more
neutral
noble
character.
force.
Yeah.
yeah, okay,
Yeah, because that's what's interesting is those two guys who help Coop in some ways, or if at anything, at least neutral extraterrestrial beings of some sort are in the Black Lodge. But they show up only in the waiting room. Like, beyond the waiting room, we see characters we know, and normally in some creepy-ass doppelganger form.
right.
So it was weird to me that, like, maybe the waiting room is somewhere where those people can enter, but they couldn't be in the other places.
Yeah. Well, and you kind of brought up, I think, was it the beginning of this or before that, but the idea of, like, have we seen the Black or White Lodges yet?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, with the knowledge that this is the waiting room.
That's the thing. Is that the entrance to both lodges, or is that entrance to one? Like the floor is black and white. Okay.
That's true.
Red curtains.
You have
Maybe it should
described
be
it.
You really nailed it.
Actually, like
Joel.
that's a good point. Like I never noticed that. Like it's the floor is black and white. Like maybe this is not the Black Lodge, right? Maybe everything that happened in that last sequence is this. All of these rooms are the waiting room. Right?
This is like some playground. That
Right.
Well,
is
I also
connected.
It's
wonder-
like a
fucking
test.
terrifying.
each
nightmare
lodge is not
playground.
necessarily physically different location wise, but emotionally and mentally different.
Yeah.
It's kind of like some like Scooby Doo hallway shit mixed with the Lost Woods from Zelda.
Mixed
Yeah.
with the Backrooms meme. You guys never heard of that?
The
Fuck,
Backroom-
I'm on Reddit too much. Never mind.
Back rooms meme. Anyway, back to the statue though. I totally forgot to mention. At one point, when he gets so deep into this bullshit, the statue's gone
True.
in that
Yeah.
hallway. That's it. That's all I got.
No, that's
And he goes into waiting rooms that are clearly not the waiting room, but they're set up the same. And he goes into bigger rooms that are empty.
I feel like at some point, anytime you enter a room that's just like strobe lights, you're like, "Fuck this! I'm going the other
Yeah,
way."
wait,
Like,
gotta find a non-strobing room.
yeah. I'm about to watch the dwarf do an even creepier dance and Laura Palmer scream and run at me.
That was freaking creepy.
Yeah.
I want to go to a Twin Peaks themed haunted house this October.
Man, I don't. No, thank you. I think one of the things we haven't mentioned, I don't know if anyone else caught this, when that strobe effect is happening when Laura Palmer is run towards him, there are brief flashes of Wyndham Earle's face
yeah,
in there. I'm not sure what that means.
that's kind of like right
Oh,
before
I didn't
he
notice that.
like they had their confrontation.
Yeah,
Right?
and so I guess to me, I wonder if that insinuates that Wyndham Earle is in some way using the powers that be in this space to torment Cooper prior to him getting his soul sucked, like ripped out of his body. Which I think is also notable. We see Coop's doppelganger show up after Wyndham's, after that whole thing. Again, I don't have a solid answer for if that is meaningful, but that's the
Well,
way it
we
happens.
don't. I feel like we leave without a good idea of how much does Wyndham Earle know, and how much power and control does he have in that space. Like clearly, he has this element of fear and evil that allows him to kind of like work within this Black Lodge space. But he thought he could suck souls, and he couldn't. But he could do some other things.
He sucks
too.
in so many other ways, though. Let's not denigrate him. He really sucks a lot.
But he went in there with confidence and was like, I'm going to use this for evil, but he didn't quite have a grasp. And like clearly he's insane. And I wonder if that has to do with him having been previously possessed or something. Because he's had these issues for killed his wife, which, you know, she cheated on with his partner and et cetera, et cetera. But still, like, he's a very mysterious character. And I think he ended up being a decent villain that I feel like had to be put in because we couldn't keep chasing Laura Palmer's killer.
yeah. I will say one of the most despicable written lines in this show is, I haven't felt this much joy since I was piercing Carolyn's aorta.
Yeah.
She says earlier, which, holy shit, man. God, what a gross dude.
In the first episode we watched, he had a weird line where he was like, "Fear, yes, my favorite emotion." Like, all right, fucking weirdo.
I keep a tally of them and I update it every week.
Yeah, what a bizarre dude.
I like the idea of him though going into the Black Lodge and being just as like lost as Cooper is.
Like that's the thing is, I would love to see his experience from his perspective.
yeah, like
or,
shit, my paper mache skills are not going to help me.
or Annie's perspective. Like,
Yeah.
what happened to her? What was she seeing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, crazy shit.
Yeah. That is all interesting. I don't know. Is there anything else that anyone's dying to talk
Have
about?
we thrown
I feel
out a
like it's-
major question that will be answered in the return?
Oh gosh, this is more a factor of me not being able to immediately recall all the major questions that have been answered over the last 20 minutes. But there is more Twin Peaks. I guess this is a good point to kind of talk about what is Twin Peaks going forward. This is the end of Twin Peaks for a large contingent of people. There are people that saw Fire Walk with me and I think vowed never to see another minute of Twin Peaks. Because to them, and I think arguably, I'm fine with that. Like the idea that the first 15 episodes of this show are the show to them is fine. It's honestly, those are some of my favorite episodes of TV. The pilot to this show. If you want to see something interesting, just go back and watch 15, 20 minutes of the pilot to see where this show started. Because it's changed a lot. Probably even more than you feel like it has. And it's really interesting to watch that. But yeah, so next week we're going to watch Firewalk with Me. And if you are listening, there is one place to stream Firewalk with Me, the movie. It is on the Criterion channel, which is the Criterion Collection streaming service that just recently started. And it's got Firewalk with Me and The Missing Pieces, which are an hour and a half of deleted scenes from Firewalk with Me that were released 5 years ago prior to The Return that give a little bit more insight into things that happen in The Return. You can get a free trial and you can watch those.
You can rent it on YouTube.
Can you? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Cool.
Also, I will say, I've been nervous and excited to watch Firewalk with Me with people since we started this. But no, going into Firewalk with Me, it is an R-rated movie, and it earns it. This is not TV Twin Peaks anymore, and it is a horrifying movie. Not probably in the way that you're expecting it to be, but there are some depictions of obviously, it's a story of Laura Palmer. There are depictions of abuse and anxiety, and it's an intense movie to watch. So just know that going into it. And if you end up getting into it and wanting to not watch it, that's cool. That's like a caveat that I feel like I have to give. Is Twin Peaks is a really fun, goofy show. It's about to become something entirely different.
Yeah, I was going to say, from what you described, it sounds like the goofiness is going to be a lot less
Yeah.
or completely absent, even.
I won't say absent. There are some meaningful things to talk about with the goofiness that is in the movie. But there's a lot less of it, and it is very much attempts to put you in the shoes of Laura Palmer.
From what you said, season 3 also kind of has that same feel where it's a lot darker.
Yeah, I mean, it's not nearly as intense as Fire. Like I imagine 18 hours straight of Firewalk with Me would probably kill you. But it is like The Return is a little more intense, but it's also it's a much slower show also. But yeah, this is a major shift in what Twin Peaks is, and so I fully expect there will be a lot of different opinions on stuff going forward because the show's way different. It gets weird in unexpected ways and makes some choices that people will be pissed at.
I'm ready for some disturbing shit.
Wow.
But yeah, that's my only thing is I told Riley, honestly, I watched before we started this rewatch. I actually went back and rewatched Firewalk with Me, and I remember telling Riley, I think coming over here to watch the pilot with everyone, of like, when we get to, I'm really nervous for when we get to Firewalk with Me because it's such a different experience. And also, you guys has anyone here seen a David Lynch movie?
I've seen a lot of clips,
Okay,
but not a full movie.
Yeah, Tyler's probably the most prepared, because you've seen some stuff that happens. But yeah,
I mean, I just imagine that, I think it's in season 1, just that horrifying sequence where we go to the hospital with Ronette and her arms raise up, and then we just see that brutal murder in the train. I imagine it's just a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, and also I say this is a horror movie. It's not like a slasher. It's not like that. David Lynch is a master of subconscious horror. It is discomfort without divorced from logic, I feel like, and that is why it's horrifying in some ways. But hey, we're gonna get through it together.
What do you recommend we watch in preparation for Firewalk with Me, as far as David Lynch goes?
Oh, I thought you were like saying like a palate cleanser, just like something to just
We
like.
watch after.
I honestly, I don't really know that there's much. I think that it's as good a thing as any to be your first David Lynch thing. I do think it will let you know if you're going to like other David Lynch movies. Because I feel like Twin Peaks, the Firewalk with Me movie kind of signals the second half of David Lynch's career. Everything forward from that, Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, Inland Empire. Those are the only movies he's made since then. Those all thematically, tonally, structurally are very similar to Firewalk with Me. So those are all, I honestly, those are some of my favorite David Lynch movies. I think those are all great to watch at any point after this, just because you'll see a lot of recurring themes, and I don't know.
How's David Lynch made money since then? It seems like he does so little.
He does a lot of art. He's got an art installation in England right now. He does a lot of stuff. He does a lot of music videos. He's done music videos for Nine Inch Nails. He does. He did a thing with who is that? What was that video? Recently, there was just a video of David Lynch's face CGI'd onto a wolf for. God damn! What was
It's
it?
on Pornhub right
Flying Lotus. Flying Lotus just released a video for their album.
Really?
That yeah, we'll
gotta
have to
check
watch
that
this
out.
after this. Yeah, but that came out within the last year. Like he really is that. I think that's one of the most fascinating things about him. We talk about a lot of filmmakers like Quentin Tarantino, Christopher Nolan. Those guys love film. They want to make films because they love film.
Yeah.
David Lynch is an artist, and film is just a medium in his arsenal. And so he does a lot of stuff. He does a lot of, like I said, sculpting, painting, animation, stuff like that. So
now. He does some killer interviews, man.
he does. He really does. You can go watch him make quinoa on YouTube, which is absolutely worth it. Go do it. But yeah, that's my soapbox disclaimer for where we're about to go. It's different. We're definitely entering a different era of Twin Peaks, but it's fun to connect these two going forward. So, any final thoughts on Twin Peaks? Okay, I think we've got some pretty good. We've got some probably some hefty recommendations segment ahead of us, but. Before we go to that, if you want to reach out to us, share your theories, favorite moments from these last couple episodes, whatever, you can email us at rewatchersonthepod@gmail.com or reach out to us on Twitter at rewatcherspod. Rate us on whatever you're listening on.
5 stars.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever you want. I don't know. I don't know why I'm doing this. So we'll just go to a quick break and then we'll get into recommendations. Welcome back for recommendations, the non-Twin Peaks related part of this podcast where we talk about other shit we've been watching. So I feel like we were talking about this. We were talking before, and all of us watched. I feel like a lot of shit this week comparatively to other weeks. I guess the thing that I want to talk about, I just want to bring up real quick, is season 3 of Glow came out on Friday, and I am 7 episodes in now. And we've mentioned it so many times on this podcast. Just go watch Glow. It's a really good show. It's probably it's definitely one of my favorite shows on Netflix. And it's definitely one of my favorite shows of the last few years. So just go watch it. It's a lot of fun. Lady wrestlers. What else do I need to say? Marcus, what did you watch this week?
This week I finally got around to watching a movie I've been wanting to watch for a long time. I watched Ex Machina.
Oh,
Which,
hey.
That's on my list.
Very, very much enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Highly. It felt like an extra long, extra cinematic a Black Mirror episode, just because
Okay.
I've been watching a lot of Black Mirror lately
Yeah.
as well. The story is absolutely incredible. It takes you for a lot of twists and turns, and you think it's going one way, and then you think it's going another, and then it ends. You really don't see it coming at all, and it's absolutely incredible. So, if you feel like you'd be into that sort of thing, go watch it because it's great. It's amazing.
Really great performances from a really small cast too.
Yeah, yeah, great stuff.
Every person in that movie, yeah.
It's on Netflix, right?
It is on Netflix. Yeah, go watch it. And then yesterday I went and saw in theaters Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and I was impressed. I went in with not low expectations, but it was just something to see.
Yeah.
And I highly enjoyed it. Just a very kind of classic horror movie. The acting is surprisingly pretty good. And
How's the writing? Because it's kind of like, I imagine like those. It's based on a book that just tells scary stories, and I
Right.
imagine this has this like kind of plot that ties those together and brings them
Exactly.
into this in some way. Like, is that pretty cool, or is that
It's
pretty standard?
It's pretty standard
Okay.
stuff, but it's still enjoyable.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, like it's something you've definitely seen before a few different times. But if you're into that kind of stuff, if you enjoy those kind of movies, I'd recommend it for sure. Yeah.
I feel like there's a level of nostalgia there too for probably most of us in this room. Like those books always just terrified me from their
yeah.
covers on the shelves of the library. So yeah, I want to check that out. So
Yeah. And then yeah, that's it for me.
cool, awesome. Those are good. Riley, do you have something?
Tyler and I saw The Farewell this week, and it's super good. Like, it's just a really good, like, wholesome movie. Awkwafina's great.
She really
Also,
is.
she's a rapper,
fantastic.
and her music is super good.
Riley just discovered this week.
It's great.
Well, I don't understand how your name could be Aquafina and you're not a rapper.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah, that movie's great. You should
Yeah.
go see it.
Go see it with family. I don't know. It's
a family
man,
film.
It's just bring
What is
tissues.
it? What is it rated?
PG.
Oh, I thought just from the trailers I watched without sound, I assumed it was R. So
Why
Okay.
Why are you watching trailers without sound?
because I never actually clicked on it, so it was like an ad or like playing like when when you're scrolling through YouTube
Right,
and
okay.
auto plays without the
Gotcha.
sound. Yeah.
I will say there are certain connotations that maybe a PG rating gives a film that it's not apparent in any way. Like this is not a movie that's attempting to play to any specific group of people. It is just a very honest telling of a really kind of incredible story where in China, if your loved one is diagnosed with a terminal illness, it is normal practice for you not to tell them and for just the family to know, and such is the case with this woman's grandma. And so this is actually based on a true story, and this Lulu Wang, who directed it and wrote it, it's based on her experience, and man, it's phenomenal. It's definitely going to end up, I feel like, near the top of my list at the end of this year for movies. So
Dang.
Yeah.
but yeah, very good. I like that. Tyler,
Yeah. I watched 3 things this week.
how many of them were anime?
None. 0 of them. 0 of them were anime. So I finally, well, one of them was Japanese. I did finally finish Terrace House, Opening New Doors.
Oh, live action anime.
Yes. Yeah. Katie and I got to a point where we stopped for a while, and not that the show was super bad, but it was just kind of boring. People in the house, nothing was really happening. But then the next episode, the sock incident happened.
Oh, my gosh.
And holy shit. Then all of a sudden it was like, oh, I hate everyone in the house right now. And yeah, it was weird because I remember at the end of Boys and Girls in the City being like emotionally kind of wrecked when they were like cleaning the house at the end. They all left.
Yeah.
This one I didn't. I was like, I'm done with all of you, you pieces. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining, but you're all horrible.
It's interesting. I wonder, because I feel like, I don't know if this show has gotten way bigger in Japan, but I know like globally, like getting on Netflix, it's like gotten way bigger. I do wonder how much that has affected the people who are going on to Terrace House, knowing that there's such a much bigger audience.
Yeah. And that's what it feels like, because that's what a lot of the drama's kind of centered around.
Yeah.
And that. So it's like,
They're very transparent about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which actually is still, I think, kind of fascinating to me, because it's still something that you don't really get that in American reality TV in any way.
Well, American reality TV is starting to get slightly more stuff where they resisted it, and then they were like, this season of The Bachelorette, there was a lot of drama at the end, and you could not separate what was happening on social media from what was happening at the end of the show, and then it leaked into their spin-off show called Bachelor in Paradise. I know you guys like look down upon. I'm just saying, like, it's very interesting how it's done the same thing in American. But yeah, like everyone who went on Terrace House in the first place was mostly models, and like most of them were pretty out. Like, no one was hiding the fact that they were kind of there for promotion, but they were trying to have this purity of trying to be better people. Yeah. And so I wonder if we're going to start getting away from that.
Well, Boys and Girls in the City, they were all like, I'm here because I need a career boost. Yeah. And like people would just say that. And
but you had people who was like, I'm a barista.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a tap dancer. Yeah. You know what I mean? There was I feel like there was a larger range of things that people were, whereas now, it feels a lot of
my brother is pretty far into this next season. They've released a bunch, and he's found a pirate site where he's he's gotten a bunch with the subtitles, and he said they'll usually load like a week after they air in Japan without subtitles, and then a week later the subtitles will be added, or a few days later. So he's seen them, and he said so far so good. So I'm very interested to see.
Yeah, I'm excited, and they're going back to Tokyo, right? That's and I'm excited for that because I think that's a lot of the charm of the first one too, is them like being in the heart of Tokyo and that kind of stuff.
I think it helps them too because it seems like everyone's always like going to Tokyo.
Right, yeah.
And they're like way out of town.
They're not going to be gone for 7 days to the place that they should be filming this show at.
Yeah. But then I also, weird variety of stuff. I mean, we're going to talk about Tarantino's film, but I also finally watched The Witch. I got the courage up. And
yes, finally, yes.
And I mean, I didn't sleep that night. I watched it really late. I got home from work really late. I was like, you know what? Because I really want to watch the fucking Lighthouse so bad.
Gosh,
so I'm like, this is the closest thing I feel like. So I started watching it, and holy shit, that movie is beautifully shot.
Yeah,
like visually, it's one of the best. I feel like you could put that in a top 10 list of visuals in film.
Yeah,
the shots are so well done, and
the closing shot of that movie like gives me chills to think about. Like, oh, God.
Holy shit, this movie. I mean, part of the reason like I couldn't sleep was not just because it was scary, but because I mean, it was scary, but it was also like the movie was so unique and beautiful that like that alone you just can't stop thinking. You can't turn off your brain.
Yeah.
Add into the fact that it's like horrifying on like hits me at a deep scary level is like I didn't sleep and it's kind of fucked up my whole week to be honest. But there's a part I'm trying to. You haven't seen it, right?
No, but I've been wanting to. But I've just kind of had like a little side convo, and Riley says she hated it.
I did.
Well, you kind of hated it as a movie, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like here's the thing: people who love horror, the genre horror, they hate this movie.
Yeah.
And I can see why, because this movie is more of a really, really dark drama than it is a horror movie. And honestly, the story arc is really beautifully done in a fucked up way. Of the main character's journey is very interesting and very compelling, and how they do everything. And they're honestly like some things that like you've seen done before in other movies, they do in such a unique way that just leaves you like sick in like a good way. Like there's a moment at the end that I won't spoil for you. That is how do I do that without spoiling it? There's a certain character that's appeared in many other things.
Okay. Yeah.
And the way they handle this character is so incredibly effective and unique that it is. I can hear him in my head, and it haunts me. Like it is so fucking awful, and I hate it. And it was really well done.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I one thing I love about The Witch also is I do feel like it keeps you just far enough away from some of the most horrific things you are able to keep watching, but it like walks that edge where it's like you really don't want
There,
to.
there, there,
but
are
you
there are
can and
two
you
moments
need
where
to.
I just like pause. I'm like, can I like keep going? Like, can
Yeah.
I like? Because I knew I was like, I know how much sleep am I going to lose tonight? Am I going to lose a whole night? Am I going to lose like 6 hours? Like what's good? And one of those moments is like when there was like 4 minutes left in the film, and I just kinda,
You got
fast forward a little bit to like see in the Netflix thing to see like what was going on. I was like, okay, I think I can do it. But yeah, I mean, there are some people who this will not affect them as much as it affected me.
Yeah.
There are people who will be like, oh, it was just super badass and cool. For me, it like really like shook me down to my core. So like, but I'm really excited for The Lighthouse because I don't have to like kind of deal with that whole flavor of it. I can still go into like it's going to be dark, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
But it's going to be like new subject material, which I'm excited for.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Sorry to take so long.
No, that's
Watching Marcus through the whole thing, I was like, he's so conflicted. Like he feels like he has to see this, and I was like, you know what? Sounds intriguing. Could not possibly.
The thing is, it's
feel
like
the need to.
I know I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I'm just scared.
Let's watch it together. Let's watch it together. I want to watch it again.
Honestly,
so.
if you're like
too.
hesitant to any of that, like honestly, it's worth it just to even like watch. I mean, it's hard because that one scene's like towards the beginning. That's pretty hard to watch. But even if you just like kind of fast forward to like 20 minutes in, watch 20 minutes, you can at least experience like the visual nature of it.
And that's what I feel the same way about Hereditary.
But you shouldn't, right? 'Cause
Yeah, I don't think you should. Like, that's the big thing is like the things that movie builds to are there. It's just it's unlike anything I've experienced like recently.
All right. Well, we're gonna cuddle up this week and we're gonna
Let's
watch
do
it
it. Let's watch it
in the middle of the day outside.
That sounds good to me.
We're just gonna watch it
On an
my phone.
iPhone
You bastards.
with one headphone each.
That's adorable.
Mitchell, what have you got for us?
So, man, you know what I watch on airplanes is I'll either rewatch something or I'm going to take a shot at some things I don't care about. Mm-hmm. So I rewatched Fighting with My Family, and I cried like 3 times. What a beautiful film.
What an unexpectedly dope-ass movie for 2019.
It's going to be one of my favorite movies of 2019 at the end. All right?
WWE produced Fighting with My Family.
Can I watch it anywhere yet to stream?
Just on an airplane.
I'll look at it.
Just go book a flight and watch it.
Oh, man. I also rewatched Endgame, which I just was like, hey, I do need to see this again at some point. Right? Like, it's free. I'm trapped on this plane. I might as well. And then I watched Tolkien. Man, I didn't expect much, but it was pretty lame.
I have not heard good things
But
about
that's
that.
something I was like, I like Lord of the Rings, and I kind of like the whole English schoolboy. He has a very interesting backstory I didn't really know. But yeah, it didn't really catch me. I watched some movie I'd never heard of about this British girl who worked in the pretty much the nuclear development for the Brits and sold the secrets to Russia, and it was super interesting.
What is that?
I would have to look it up.
Okay.
But yeah, who's that? It's got a really famous old British lady. There's only so many. I'll look it up. But
Is it Professor McGonagall or
no.
M?
Wait, who's M?
Judi Dench?
Judy Dench. That's her. Okay, good
I
work.
knew it had to be one of
You
them.
nailed it. But yeah, that one was more interesting. Like, I don't know. It was a very methodical movie, but like I'm interested in that kind of shit. So that was my airplane experience. And then in the theaters, I went and saw Hobbs and Shaw and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which we'll touch on. And those are the 2 movies I've been looking forward to the most. I almost saw them in Europe and like wasted hours of my time just because I wanted to see them that badly. But more importantly, on TV, watched Dairy Girls. Tyler finally caught on and watched season 1.
It's so delightful.
They're 20-minute episodes. There's only 12 of them between 2 seasons.
I only had to watch 2 episodes with subtitles before my ears acclimated to the heavy accents
It's
of
a
the
pretty
Irish
heavy note,
girls.
but man, it is so fun. It's 90s and it's just rapid fire. You'll laugh so much.
And it's just a very traditional sitcom.
Yeah.
Like it's very funny.
It's got like these coming of age moments.
Yeah.
You have some of the shtick of just like one of the characters is English and they're Northern Ireland and they're just like, screw this guy. He doesn't count as a human.
He's the only boy at an all-girls Catholic school, which is very
But
fun.
no girls want to date. Oh, it is so funny. And like, I don't know, I went in the first one expecting like things to develop. It's a little Seinfeldian in the fact that like don't expect anyone to develop, but it is hilarious.
Yeah, it's really fun.
And then I started watching The Boys on Amazon
is
Prime. I had like very low expectations, and I started hearing more and more good things. I'm like, the whole gritty superhero thing I think is pretty tough to pull off, but so far I'm intrigued. Like everyone on that show pretty much is a piece of shit, and they kind of put their protagonist of some sort into a pretty shitty predicament right away, like almost Breaking Bad, how they kill the guy like in the first season. And they're trying
Okay,
to get
spoiler alert, Mitchell, you're really
It's
fucking
in the
things
first
up
season.
this
Get
episode.
over it. You should watch Breaking Bad by now. Damn it.
I have watched it.
Well,
we
there
have
you go.
other listeners.
It's
okay?
from like
Not
the
many,
first
but
5
yeah.
Not many,
episodes.
but I'm looking out for him.
Anyway, The Boys really good. They're already filming the second season, and I've only watched 2, but I think there's only 6 or 8, and I really like it. I think
Yeah, I've heard more good things than I expected for sure.
yeah, it's a different take on superheroes, and it's a lot of fun. You know what's funny? I'm pretty strict on not spoiling things, and I ruined the end of Breaking Bad for my roommate on accident.
Oh.
I thought he'd seen it, and I felt really bad.
What's that comic book that you let me borrow that one time of the superheroes and just bonkers as shit and like
God Hates Astronauts.
Yep, that one.
Yeah.
That's what I imagine The Boys is kind of like in that vein, except toned down.
Yeah,
The
probably.
only gritty superhero piece of media that you need to watch is Mystery Men.
The Sphinx will be liberated.
Oh man. But yeah, I watched a lot of shit. It was good.
Cool.
Now let's talk about Once Upon a Time in
Thank
Hollywood.
Yeah, let's talk about
Go
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So, pretty much everyone's seen this except for Justin.
haven't seen it yet.
I'm sorry. Justin.
I was gonna go on like Thursday or Friday.
Do you want to
and-
like leave the room for a bit?
I mean, if you guys are gonna be, how much?
We'll try and control our volume here, and then we'll call you back in.
Well, are you spoiling it for like
I
your
don't-
listeners too? Or
I don't know what we're doing. Are
We
we-
can give a
Yeah.
spoiler warning and say
I'll
leave
spoil
if you haven't
everyone
seen it. I
into
mean,
it.
we kind of had a little pre-discussion about it, so we're not going to go that deep.
Yeah. I think let's
we can
try to
do-
keep it pretty general. If there's anything that we come across that we want to talk about spoilers,
we'll tell
Justin can
we'll
plug his
label it
ears.
and we'll
Okay.
just hum into the
I'm
microphone.
curious to know right now where it ranks in your Tarantino movies. Like, I think that maybe it's too early to tell, but like, is it definitely upper echelon?
I feel like
Mine's
every time
like-
I try and rank them, I keep forgetting about some. So I gotta
Yeah,
think.
and there's a couple I haven't seen.
mine's pretty. I would say bottom half of my list, but I really love some Tarantino movies. So
Yeah.
And this is still a good movie.
it's still a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I saw it again. Tyler saw it again. And then you two saw
Seen
it
it
for the
once,
first
yeah.
time.
And Riley saw this was Riley's
That's right.
first Tarantino movie.
So
First number
Tarantino.
one
that's-
for me.
I
Yeah,
am
so this
interested
is
to
Riley's
hear.
favorite Tarantino movie.
the best one
but
I've
also
seen.
it's the worst one she's seen.
I want to
so
know,
interesting.
Riley. What did you think? I'm really
Yeah, this-
excited to hear your opinion.
This will be a good opinion.
I liked it a lot. I am into like murder, and I'm not into murder. That sounded weird.
fucking love murder.
it's my job.
Oh yeah.
Like true crime and stuff, and so like I knew about the Manson family and stuff. So that was fun to see that a little bit in there. But I liked it. I thought it was good. There were a couple things that were kind of interesting, like style wise, that were done with it. That kind of took me back a little bit, and then I was like, oh, okay, it's fine, because it just would happen like repeatedly, and then I was like, oh, okay, it's just what it is. I don't know.
okay.
Tarantino just spends his time so uniquely. Like, you spend a long time in these random sequences, and in other movies, like, the way it shifts. This one, I feel like it's so lived in and moves a little slowly, but it's interesting because his style is in this movie, but there's so many hallmarks of him that are not in this movie, and that's what almost makes me look back and be like, hey, I should have gone into this just wanting to watch a movie, not wanting to watch a Tarantino movie, because now I'm like, oh, I thought there'd be more of this or that,
Yeah, I felt the same way.
but I don't know. I did enjoy it for sure.
Yeah. I have a question. This is I want to keep this question as general as possible. Did any of you, because I didn't recognize this till the second time I saw it. Did any of you guys realize Dakota Fanning is in this movie?
Yep.
I remember seeing her name at the beginning. I didn't remember seeing
Did
her.
you,
Where?
you
Yeah, I
know,
recognize her right
Did
away.
you
Where?
really?
I didn't recognize her. I
Where?
knew she was somewhere.
She is, she plays
Oh, she-
Squeaky from.
Oh, she's Squeaky. Okay.
Yeah.
What? What?
Okay.
That's her?
Yeah.
There's a couple pretty
That makes
famous people in this
sense
movie
now.
who
Oh,
do not
man.
speak.
Yes.
That's
yes.
how good Tarantino is.
And
There's some
then
interesting
Lena
stuff.
Dunham's in this movie, and she talks way too much.
Lena
Oh,
Dunham is
hate
the low
her.
point of this movie.
Lena
I will say
Dunham
that.
is. I mean, I don't. She just doesn't see the irony of that. This is who she would have been if she lived back in the 70s.
Wait, remind me who that is. Lena Dunham.
She's in Girls.
What
That's
character
right.
does she
That's
play
really
in the
what she's
film?
She's like the
She's at the ranch. She's one of the girls. I
She's
don't
the one
even know
that
if she has a
doesn't
name.
fit in with the
She's
rest
like
of
the
them.
mom. She like wears like the white dress.
Smock almost.
Yeah, she's
She the pregnant one?
no.
No, but she's
She
the one that
tells the
like
pregnant
tells him to
one,
go
yeah.
get Tex or whatever. at that
Oh,
point.
okay.
And-
Gotcha.
yeah.
Go and get oh man. When that guy beats up that other guy, I was so freaking happy. One thing
Okay, my new favorite thing that Mitchell you need to continue doing is the most enthusiastically general spoilers for anything that no one is gonna even when they see that happen on screen, no one's gonna be like, that's what he was talking about, because it's so general. I am in love with this.
I definitely do with the Twin Peaks summary.
So I just had like a very general understanding of like the Manson murders, like mostly that specific instance of it, not like any of the side stories or anything that was happening. I don't know if you guys knew this. I did some more research afterwards. That character Squeaky was a real person,
Yeah.
and
She's like
Fanning.
one of the prevalent like Manson family.
was in charge of leading a strike team to assassinate the president of the United States.
Yeah. Yep.
What? That blows my mind.
A lot of the I just watched a half-hour YouTube video on this, but they kind of pointed to all these different Manson family members who like were amalgamations of people. Like Pussycat is kind of not anyone specific, but it makes sense that she's related. Also, a lot of the Manson family members are played by children of famous people,
Yeah.
which I find to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Maya Hawke.
Maya
is
Hawke's
in
Yeah.
the
Maya
movie.
Hawke,
Who
Margaret Qualley
sounds
plays
a
the main
lot
girl.
like her mom.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure. For sure.
People said that, and like after watching a few episodes of Stranger Things, I was like, I see it now, but it didn't strike me right away, which I think is good. I think that's good on her.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I didn't notice it as much as Stranger Things as I did in just her few lines in this.
Yeah.
I was like, it sounded like Uma Thurman's voice coming out of her for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Oh man, I do wish they'd shave their armpits though. I know that's sexist. Like you do you, but that was tough. There were a lot of feet. Everyone knows Quentin Tarantino's a foot fetish.
Yeah.
Lots of feet.
foot on
The feet were a little overboard. in
I
this
Yeah.
will
one for
say,
me.
one
lot
of the most
overboard.
believable severed limbs is in a Tarantino movie when Death Proof, when that leg is hanging out the car.
Yeah. Oh
and it just kind of like
shit.
flops on the ground. The fats. Yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
But that's definitely low on my Tarantino list. is
Yeah,
Death
that's
Proof.
low
I
for
will
me
say
as well.
with these, it's just fun spending time with two really talented, famous dudes, and like they're playing guys in like a certain space in their career and exploring the psychology of that and the relationships around it. Like that all makes sense, and I bet people who are Hollywood people like that's why I think I don't know if this has a ton of Oscar hope, but people at the Oscars do love things about Hollywood.
Yeah.
They
and
really
I
do.
really hope this gets, especially Leo, like
Holy shit!
I loved his.
I mean, this might be one of my favorite performances of his.
Yeah.
We've talked about before how it's kind of a bummer that he did end up winning his Oscar for The Revenant, which I don't think is a bad performance, but I don't think it's near his best. I think this is very much. I mean, I haven't seen much this year, but I hope he gets nominated for it.
I feel like there's zero. I know it's August, but I feel like there's zero to no buzz right now. Like last year, we kind of knew that a couple movies were coming that were going to get nominated. Like it's been a very quiet year for that, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, it is. I will say, I think from my perspective as well, having done theater like performance of any kind, there's a lot of stuff for people who have done that or been in that world at all in this movie.
Oh yeah.
There's stuff with Sharon Tate where she goes to see her own movie,
my gosh,
which is also one of my favorite sequences. It's like really delightful, and Margot Robbie does so much with what she's given in this movie. Like there have been a lot of complaints that she didn't have more lines and all this stuff, and I don't think she needs it. Like I feel like what she brought to that and those moments in particular was so joyful, and I don't know. I really liked it.
I mean,
You knew the character without words, and
Yeah.
Quentin is known for his dialogue, and that's why I was like, because people were really critical of that after Canada. She was like, I read the script, I knew what I was signing up for.
Yeah.
I was like, I think this is one of her better acting performances, purely because like I feel like I know Sharon Tate, and she didn't have to speak that
Yeah,
much.
she's really great.
Oh no, that's absolutely fine. I think that, I mean, I don't know the people you've heard that from. I feel like I can hear that coming from people who don't know the history behind what happened.
Right. Yeah.
Because honestly, if you don't know, like, because that I don't want to spoil anything, but like how they use that as a backdrop and where that ends up, it like makes sense to question why the hell is she in this movie? Like,
Yeah.
like stuff like that. Like, you know, that really I don't know, that works well because of what we know.
Right.
Which Katie did not when we saw it.
Yeah.
And so like afterwards I was like explaining it and she was like, oh, like holy shit. Like, so she's like, yeah, that whole thing made no sense to me.
Yeah, I understand how that could definitely be confusing because I've recommended this movie to people because I highly enjoyed it, and they've come back from it and been like, why did you recommend that to me? And I'm like, sorry. Another fun thing is like, it's important to go into the movie knowing kind of the history behind Sharon Tate and the Manson family, but I've also kind of just been reading about it and finding out information kind of about Leo's character and Brad Pitt's character, where their characters are based on kind of an accumulation of different Hollywood stars and kind of different stories, and that's super interesting to me. Kind of their career paths and some of the different backstories. I don't know. It's really cool when you start to look into it.
For sure.
And they're deep cuts. There's like, this is what Quentin Tarantino would have been interested in knowing. Like, it's funny that Luke Perry, who famous because of 90210, died last year. He plays a character in this that it's very much commenting on the twilights of careers, or like careers that what could have been. Because even back then, you were pretty famous if you were on TV, because there were only so many shows on TV, but that didn't always transfer into film. And even now, well, maybe it's reversing the other way now because we have so much like premium TV. But like for Jennifer, like you got to remember when people leave a sitcom to get turned into big stars, like it doesn't always work out like it did for George Clooney or Jennifer Aniston,
Yeah.
And so it's a really interesting comment on those types of careers.
Yeah.
I think it's such an interesting, I mean, it's an interesting story to tell, interesting themes to delve into, particularly with Leo's character, and a really interesting choice to place that whole scenario as the backdrop for this story, which I don't think is a bad thing at all. I think it's just an interesting, weird, fun choice, especially how it all plays out with all the interconnecting parts. He is so damn good at moving camera. There's so many moving shots in this movie that are incredible.
Yeah. And honestly, I think another thing to watch Tarantino movies for is the way he films conversation. There are very simple, mundane conversations in this movie that are shot in such interesting ways and with such deliberate and intentional camera shots. Like, particularly, I'm thinking of the conversation he has with the little girl on set. The way that conversation is shot, I think enables those actors to give really memorable performances and really consistent performances.
Yeah, there's that one shot they hold for a long time in that sequence where it's just Leo in the foreground, her in her chair in the back.
Yeah, and that camera is outside that conversation, and then it's very specific and purposeful moments. That camera is inside that conversation. You know what I mean? Like, it's very deliberate, and that stuff is really fun to watch. Like, Quentin Tarantino can make a movie, I guess.
Yeah, it's a man who knows exactly who's very, very good at what he does. Showing off and having fun and just enjoying it. And I enjoy watching that. I know there will be people who do not. In fact, most of the theater I sat with did not. But it is lower on my Tarantino list, but I still had a great time.
Yeah. I mean, it's for me, I don't know. I put Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, probably Bastards above this. And that's not to say anything bad against this movie. He makes a lot of good movies, I think.
And if you go into this with, let's say, Bastards and Django are your template, or for other people it might be Kill Bill and Pulp Fiction. Like, this is obviously very different from those, but a lot of those visuals, a lot of those like moments he can make mean so much with maybe less dialogue or less violence, frankly, than a lot of his other films have. But I mean, he teaches you how to make a Western television show inside of his movie. We could do it.
It's fucking crazy. It's really cool. But yeah, let's. I think. Does anyone else have any kind of final thoughts on that? I think it's great. It's fun to watch. I might go see it again. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, next week we'll watch Fire Walk with Me then. And
then the week after that, we're watching 1 and 2 of The Return.
Yeah.
I'm so ready for the return.
Yep.
Guys. I don't know if I can wait.
It's gonna be. I can't wait. I think next week after we watch Firewalk with me, I might show you the promos that they released for season 3 because
I
man,
definitely
they're
wanna
just
see those.
fucking nostalgia bait in the to the nth degree.
Oh, cool.
They're so great.
I'm gonna listen to some preview podcasts for it. And
Okay.
I'm stoked.
Cool.
Like,
Please
Yeah.
send them our way.
yeah. I have 2 guys I love, and they were big Twin Peaks nerds, and I did not know what that meant. And then when the return came back, I was like, why is this random campy show from the 90s coming back? And they were so excited. And so I'm really excited because that was 2.5 years ago now. I'm interested to go back in here and talk about it.
I think. Yeah, was it?
It
Yeah,
was like the summer
of 2017, I
just-
think. So, yeah, it's about 2 years ago. All right. Well, until next week, signing off. This is Tyler Harris.
Marcus Marinos.
Riley Harris.
Tyler McKinley.
Hello? This is Marcus Marino. No, Mitchell Marshall.
I was gonna see if I could try to say my name backwards, but then I was like, "Fuck
I
it.
did like 5 minutes of prep before I was like, okay, we're repeating it.
Let's see,
He was in the bathroom.
Soniram Suckram.
There it is.
Your name is Suckram?
Suck it.
And Justin Hammer.
See you next week.
Bye.